Everybody, hi. I'd like to welcome you to our Libra pre full moon webinar. Our actual, the actual full moon is tomorrow, at least tomorrow where we are, on October 8th at 10:50 and 34 seconds a.m. GMT, about 10 minutes to 11 GMT, so about 11 hours from now. And then we'll be having a broadcast which will be starting actually at 9:15 a.m. GMT. So it'll be our usual broadcast led by my wife Tuya, with images and music and a meditation service. So I hope you can join us for that. Let's see here if I have that. Yeah, here it is, centered on the picture, and this is the link for it, which I should have sent you if you have received this. Okay. Well, here we are with Libra, and this is the Jofra diagram. Here's our banner. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. It is a profound sign which actually relates to Shambhala along with Aries. There's a kind of a triangle between the Great Bear, Aries and Libra, and then Shambhala is a part of that. And the planet Uranus is so important as the home of the first ray, connected with both Aries and with Libra. There are three rulers here. The usual one is the planet of love and beauty and the union of heart and mind, which is Venus, as we see here, and it's in an indigo color, which is, interestingly enough, the Tibetan tells us, the esoteric color of the fifth ray. And that's one of Venus's rays, not the only ray. It's essentially and deeply a great second ray planet. Then we come to the violet planet Uranus, which is the esoteric ruler of Libra and making possible all kinds of transformations in relationships. And finally, the great judge, Saturn, is the hierarchical ruler, the lord of balance, the lord of karma. And this is one of those great karmic signs, bringing all things into perfect, archetypal, beautiful adjustment. That is, after all, the purpose of karma, and Saturn sees to that. Here in the Jofra illustration, we see all of the pairs of opposites represented, the sun and the moon and so forth. Perhaps they should be on the other sides. Somehow the image has gotten reversed. But we have the polarity indicated at the adjacent center, the solar and the lunar aspects of this great center of choice, which has so much to do with the sign Libra. Here we have an Egyptian ritual being performed. Osiris, who is the recently departed one, is led through the lower chambers into the hall of judgment, where his heart is weighed against a feather. And if the heart is at all burdened by any sin, by any misdeeds which demand the repayment by a karma, then in fact the heart will be heavier and it will be eaten by the crocodile. You may recognize Makara, who represents the human personality and the necessity for reincarnation. The yin and yang symbols are here, the tessellated floor of the various Masonic lodges. All the great pairs of opposites are found here, and the idea is to achieve a union between them. Maybe, what is not realize so much as the great Lord, the head of the hierarchy, as the Prince of Peace. This being, the sign of peace, is deeply related to the sign Libra and, of course, to the sign of world saviors, Pisces. So there are many deeply occult symbols here. Recently we had this Venus transit over the face of the sun, and we have the horns of the bull through which which is related to that great transit, and the different aspects of divinity are here represented. The great karmic recorder is found over here, Thoth, and here we have the solar angel on the side of the heart. Well, all of us have this great necessity to somehow balance our lives so that there is a true interplay between the beautiful solar angel who supervises our many incarnations and the elemental nature of our lives, which has to be uplifted, spiritualized, redeemed. Spirit and matter must be married. This is the sign of the divine marriage of soul and personality, and later the sign of union between the monad itself and the soul-infused personality. That is the great marriage of spirit and matter. So if you look at the world situation at the moment, we have war on every side. When Mars came very, very close to the Earth just a few years ago, the closest it would be in 70,000 years, something of that nature, it signified the uprising of the Martian forces. And we all know that Mars is not, astrologically at least, well placed in the sign Libra. So we have the expression these days of what's called monadically the recurring sons of war. And the symbolic battle of Armageddon is shaping up. After the victory comes to the forces of light and love, a great era of peace is to occur. Symbolically, Satan, which is the threefold lower nature, will be bound for 1,000 years. Of course, that's not literal. It will be the era of peace, and by the time we reach the Libran part of Aquarius, which is the third and last decade of Aquarius, we will have the period of brotherly love, over which Venus, the ruler of that decade, will preside. So whatever tribulations we have to endure during the next 10 or 11 years, it will all prepare the way for the emergence of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. And then he, representing Shambhala, will bring to earth, through his example, a great peace such as we have never experienced before. But of course, peace is not laziness. It is a great and active participation in dynamic equilibrium. So all of us have to be part of building the peace within our own warring nature, because inevitably the soul and personality will war, and helping to become the peace which must emerge in the world. And it's not simply tranquility, not simply calmness, not simply inactivity, nothing of that nature. It is a dynamic dance and balancing of forces, extremely orchestrated with great intelligence, as Libra is bringing in so much of the third ray. It's a major third ray sign, but we cannot forget that behind that third ray we will find a great second ray of love and wisdom, divine love and understanding. We have some illustrations by Francis Donald. This shows the equilibrium that's needed by this beautiful figure who's holding the male and the female symbol in balance and retaining a certain perfect kind of poise as precariously walking over the waters. Now, interestingly, that the Libra represents a certain aspect of the mind. It's called super mind or triadal mind. and it is above the waters. So we have to achieve this polarization within the spiritual triad, which is a kind of a planetary consciousness, in order to make our way over the turbulent waters with perfect balance. There's much that Francis has said about this. I'm just going to say that if you get this video, just stop the video at a certain point, freeze it, and you'll be able to read what he has said here. He has a marvelous program in sacred geometry going on in terms of his webinars, so you can go to the Morya Federation website, moryafederation.com, and find out when those webinars are offered, and quite a number of other webinars from our faculty. Now I'm going to concentrate, the quotations, Libra, the place of judgment, yes. It's separating the sheep from the goats, and we all, in this case, want to be goats at the moment. One day, when Aries is the true sign of initiation, perhaps we can become the ram of God, as it were, but for the moment, Capricorn indicates our goal. And an encouraging thing is said about Libra, that at the end of the century we will see the influence of Libra rising. I wonder if he means Libra rising, He always gives interesting hints. Libra rising in the planetary horoscope, and it will rule the transition between Pisces and Aquarius. And he tells us, therefore, there is no real reason to have a fear or anxiety about the future. Now I would like to look at the other image, which is very beautiful, and maybe say a bit more about this. This is the figure Athena appearing in perfect balance with the figure of Uranus behind her. Uranus and Venus are closely related, and Athena and Venus have a close connection, and the sacred geometry of equilateral triangles and the pentagons and the dodecahedron, they are all found in here. And let's see a little bit of what Francis has said about this in his text, at least some of it. When Athena bursts forth fully formed from the head of Zeus, we remember that Zeus had a great headache and called upon Vulcan to relieve him of the headache. So basically Vulcan, sounds very Zen, but Vulcan hit him on the head with his hammer, split his head open, and out came Pallas Athene, the relative of Venus. So she burst fully formed from the head of Zeus, both brilliant and beautiful. She, in the Pallas Athene mode of Venus, epitomizes the ideal feminine, the third aspect of divinity. The razor edge path, which we saw in the first illustration, also depicts Venus at the instant of her emerging, the fragments of her body still half in the darkness of the noumenal realm. There's the noumenal and the phenomenal, and the noumenal is the inner support and cause of the phenomenal realm, and half bathed in the light of manifestation. So we see that illustrated there. Okay. Let's see. She at once exemplifies the lesson of Libra and reveals the gifts of Venus, the ability to coordinate. Now let's think about this, because we all need it. The ability to coordinate mind and heart. Head and heart, or as the Tibetan tells us, quote, the power of mind transmuted into wisdom through the instrumentality of love. Now on that we could ponder a long time, because Venus, interestingly, is a planet both of love and mind. I think most essentially a planet of love, but from its soul nature, which is the fifth ray, I do believe, a planet of mind. So Venus represents what we as aspiring disciples need to achieve within ourselves, the power of mind transmuted into wisdom, which immediately lifts it into the cosmic ethers through the instrumentality of love. And so we will have Buddhi emerging. Now, Venus is said to be a planet which has developed much more of this intuition, pure reason, Buddhi, whatever you want to call it, much more of this than has the logos of our Earth. And all of this has to do with how they're working there in their own astral body, and let's just say Venus has accomplished a lot more than the logos of our Earth. Just as Venus emerges from the radiant violet male figure, which in this image represents Uranus. Let's take a look at that. You see here behind is Uranus, a violet figure who in a way supports her, and we know the story of actually the birth of Venus that involves both Uranus and Saturn, which are co-rulers of Libra. Venus, Uranus, and Saturn, all co-rulers of Libra in that ancient myth. So, so does the impetus to coordinate the mind and heart emerge from a more fundamental purpose, and that's always Uranus, the great first-ray monadic planet purpose, that of anchoring the realm of the soul in our world through the medium of the personality. That is our task, friends. You know, we can think of many exalted cosmic things, but the basic thing is this: the beauty of the solar angel and its power and its love has to, excuse me, that's what water is for, has to express itself through our vehicle. And this is the work of Uranus, which the Tibetan describes as, quote, occult consciousness, or that intelligent fusing condition which produces the scientific at-one-ment of the two factors, higher and lower self, through the intelligent use of the mind. That's our entire disciplic task if we're working with true occult meditation, which is represented by both Venus and Uranus as well. We find Saturn at the top of this image. I guess if you look very closely, it's very small, but you can see the image of Saturn up there in a rather remote sense, and it's the planet of opportunity, and it completes the third aspect of the trinity of influences. Saturn is exalted in Libra, for at the point of balance the will can be exerted and opportunity comes. I won't go so much into the geometry of that. I'll leave that to Francis, who's doing a beautiful job with it, but suffice it to say, equilateral triangles are created here, including the higher chakras and the lower ones, and the divine tetractys is also created. And the tetractys is at once tenfold and fourfold. And we have this great image of the soul, the dodecahedron with 30 sides and 12 faces, and so the mystery of the soul is contained therein. Master Morya said that if you want to have the perfect figure, sort of the perfect figure of resistance, strength, which can withstand any onslaught, then organize people into the dodecahedron. Okay, that's a little bit more. Yeah, well, he talks here about the dodecahedron. So just in summary, in Libra, the first real vision of the path appears. Now, for people like ourselves, the vision of the path has appeared, and we are doing our best to tread that path increasingly as souls, having achieved that kind of balance which comes from the emergent middle principle between the spirit and matter. Life and soul, life of soul and form is balanced. Neither dominates, and that's a certain phase which has to be, and maybe many of us have gone through that, that phase has to be disrupted so we can fight out the battle in Scorpio and have the soul truly triumph. But at the moment, the equilibrium is created. An interlude wherein the soul organizes itself for battle and the personality waits. And this is interesting because you oftentimes have that waiting, observing attitude of the Libran person, but interiorly so much is going on. This is the probationary path, and duality is known, but from another perspective, Libra is also the royal road which leads into Shambhala. It goes from the base of the spine to the head chakra. It's known as the Shushumna, the central channel of spirit, and when it is completed, the Kundalini can rise, and there's a complete union between the two, between purpose and will, between the highest aspect and the lowest. And this waits for us one fine day at the fifth initiation and beyond. Well, this is an amazing sign, and let's just say there's so much about it. It seems, in a way, often a rather neutral sign about which you cannot say too much, because it is a sign in which the extremes are eschewed, they are avoided, and the sense of perfect and beautiful balance is attempted. At the same time, as many Librans can attest, there is a great fluctuation between these extremes, and the balance is hard won. Now, we have to achieve this balance in our lives, and humanity at this time, with Libra growing in the planetary horoscope, has to achieve this balance as well. And maybe, our meditations here, in the spirit of balance, the spirit of beauty, the spirit of archetypal perfection, maybe we can help with that balancing act, because indeed we have a world which is sorely out of balance in terms of human relations, in terms of ecology, in terms of economics, in terms of the relationship between men and women, in terms of our laws. There is so much rightful balance to achieve in the eyes of the soul. And, well, as DK says, fortunately, the power of Libra is rising in the planetary horoscope. Fortunately. Okay, friends, so now we will begin our meditative process. We're in the, there are these days of preparation, and basically we've just entered, in a way, the day of safeguarding, where we are receiving and holding the energies. Master DK made himself available to his students for 12 hours preceding the full moon, and we're within that period. We don't know if he's attentive in quite the same way as he was when he had students on the outer plane that he was supervising, but we can act as if he is, and all sincere, loving, illumined approaches to hierarchy will be noticed and will be encouraged, and we will be fortified in our soul nature. So we've had the days now of confidence, aspiration, and dedication, rising from the physical, emotional, and mental, and now this attunement, this alignment, this awareness of the kinds of energies which are now available and which are very real, the receiving of them, the holding of them, and then the expressing of them in the days of distribution, where we consciously register, have then a sense of expectancy, and finally a confirmed belief that the work has been done. Okay, so we begin. And we make sure, that we're in a good position to meditate, physically at least, and with poise in the vehicles of the personality. And we begin this process of moving inward and withdrawing our attention from the outer realm. Inwardly from the realm of the senses, from our customary feelings and their emotions, We leave those behind, and we leave behind the usual thoughts, the concrete thoughts of the concrete mind, which pertain to the outer worlds. Our work is to work within higher states, and then that work and the energy contacted will automatically descend into expression. So we are the soul in incarnation. We are a projection of our egoic lotus, our causal body, our consciousness on the higher mental plane. We are the unit, aware, within the usual worlds, the soul in incarnation. But now that soul in incarnation seeks to withdraw and re-identify with one of its sources, and that is the soul on its own plane. So we feel ourselves focusing at a higher point of tension. And with that focus, even if imaginatively at first, the world of the light and of the love and of the spiritual sacrificial power which underlies all our manifestation, that world begins to come into view. We are present to a world we all share in our soul nature. And we leave then the personality behind, and we're at this higher point of tension where we feel our union with each other. Our connectedness in the realm of soul. We are entering together what we call the group soul, the group consciousness. It's one consciousness of one being. And no matter how we may be apparently separated in body across the world, some 75 of us right now meditating together, we are together in consciousness, and really, if we can feel it, time is negated, and certainly the apparent space between us is negated, and we are one sentiency, one sensitivity, one being with its consciousness together. And we will include in soul nature all the members of the new group of world servers, wherever they may be on this planet, in the body or out of the body. Great community of servers, of the men and women of goodwill, in their thousands. Maybe the figure is much larger by now. And also then, really, all human beings in their soul nature, regardless of the inadequacy of the personality expression, the soul is always good. It may be incomplete in terms of consciousness, but it is always good. And it's as if we can touch every human being in the soul nature, whether in the body or out of the body. Those billions of soul units, all somehow, regardless of the external warfare, all drawn together in a higher way, having a higher appreciation, which it is our duty and objective to bring through. That's our goal, that the soul may manifest on earth however many millennia it will take. And yet, humanity's first initiation is imminent, and so for many, many hundreds of thousands, this first initiation will be possible. So it's our togetherness which we want to feel in consciousness, in being, in that silence, in that tranquility over which Libra resides, in that peace which reveals true relationship. We feel our essential oneness, a oneness which is growing. And we in this group are focused in the group point of tension, the group mental unit fed by the higher mind, fed by the soul. That's the place from which we will make our projection into the Antakarana. Our point of tension is fed by the will of the soul, which is becoming our will, the will to initiate of the first ray, the will to unify of the second ray, the will to evolve of the third ray. The will to harmonize of the fourth ray, the will to act of the fifth ray, the will to cause of the sixth ray, the will to express of the seventh ray. So, as we draw up the potencies of the group personality, fortifying the point of projection, which is this point of focus on the mental plane, on the fourth level of the mental plane, we are also fortified by the infusing will of the group's soul, carrying all these aspects of the will, because we want to penetrate into the higher worlds together. We want to build that dual bridge. We imagine it, the faculty of imagination made of two colors of the soul and personality, or the color indigo if we're not quite certain. The red of the first ray, the indigo of the second, green of the third, yellow of the fourth, orange of the fifth. We can use the rose color of the sixth ray, or the light blue, and the violet of the seventh ray. Each of us is building that twofold bridge, which we can almost think of as coming out of the top of our head, traveling through toward the spiritual triad, touching the abstract mind, which is in process of development for us, touching the place of intuition, the buddhi, which is certainly our frontier, our bridge, touching the spiritual will, translated to us as the sacrificial will of the soul, and touching, if we can, maybe imagine it, the point of being, our central focal point, the spirit itself, the monad, on the monadic plane, the place from which our journey began, and the place to which the royal road ruled by Libra will take us. So get into your colors there, or into the color indigo. And the energy will descend along this line because the triad will approach the invoking personality. It's a two-way street here. We are being evoked by the triad. So our invocation is a result of evocation. And all through the group these strands of dual colors rise. We can visualize it, making a great cone towards the blue-white diamond of the monad, if we want to visualize it that way. Or into the center of a sphere, perhaps, if you prefer that. And we're each contributing our part to this multicolored rainbow bridge of all the seven rays, ending in the cosmic ethers, where the Buddhic plane, Atmic plane, and even monadic plane can be touched. And where impersonal wisdom can be found. And planetary will, not just our own will or the will of our soul, but the will of the purpose. Will of the purpose of deity. Our planetary logos. When we're looking for the spiritual will, we remember that Libra rules the law, and the spiritual will, Atma, resides upon that dimension of being and consciousness which is ruled by Libra. And so across this bridge we're going to project that beam pure white light along the antichironic strands, imaginatively done, and we will use the word of power. There are 7 words of power, of course, and when you're doing this yourself, you would use the word of power of your own soul ray. But so many of us are on the second ray, and it is the great soul ray of our planet and the soul ray of our solar logos, and so we will use the mantra, word of power of the second ray. I see the greatest light. And the way we'll do this, we'll project through imagination and the inward use of the mantra, and then outwardly, if we can keep those two things going at once, we will sound the Om on a second ray note, a G, while inwardly We project and sound in thought the mantra. I see the greatest light. We'll do this 3 times. For all the group, the greatest light of the monad on its own plane, the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala, somehow tenuously makes its way through the triadal spheres into the consciousness of the group, stimulating thought that will reflect the higher contacts. These worlds are ever present, but we have to align especially often to touch them, and at the time of the full moon, that alignment is facilitated. This is the world that the masters focus within. The world of the triad, the majority of ashrams now found upon the Buddhic plane, but some on the higher mental plane, and some few on the Atmic plane. But in any case, this is their world, where we are attempting to, from which we are attempting to gather the light. This is their world. The greatest light for us may be something of the light in which they perpetually walk and perceive. See the greatest light. May that light throw light upon our path in our daily lives. And to fortify that process and to dedicate ourselves and promise our cooperation with the Great Ones, we offer our salutations. This is a practice that the Tibetan offered to his group, to salute the Great Ones, and we do that, offering our co-creatorship, our solidarity, our cooperation, as we attune with these great inner presences who are active in meditation at this period of the full moon. So we inwardly and with heartfelt gratitude, we offer our salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters, the head of the hierarchy, as a group. Om. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all Masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, the masters M, K, H, and DK. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram is instrumental in preparing for the reappearance of the Lord Maitreya, the Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, who has given us the blue books and who prepares aspirants for initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Intensifying our point of tension. We raise our thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. And with deepest reverence and in all humility, we attempt, identified as a group, soul group, to attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, the king of Shambhala, focused at the very center of Shambhala. This is the center of peace, the only center of peace upon our planet, and thus we realize intimately related to Libra, approached through the royal road. And it is a long, internal, silent Om. We sound as we imagine the group imbued to the extent possible by the energies of divine will and purpose, which are focused in Shambhala. Long, internal, silent Om. Great purpose, working through the spiritual will of the triad, and the sacrificial will of the soul. Stimulate our own personal will so that we can carry forward impersonally some aspect of that great objective. Do that together and yet individually as well, never losing our togetherness as a group. All of us responsible as a group and yet individually responsible. Seek to remain under the impress of this divine purpose and the plan which has derived from it, and thus carry out our part as agents of the divine will. However little of that may reach us, something will reach us. And we can be together effective in the world, carrying out that will, the will of hierarchy, the great ashram of Sanat Kumara. With which we seek to be humble co-workers, doing something of value for the world, advancing the agenda of the plan. So here we are with all these alignments in place, the center at the top of the head stimulated, the link with our soul and beyond established, and in our mind the awareness of the great elder brothers, a great unity of purpose in which we are participating. It's as if we are one point. The point exists and yet it has no dimension. A point of intense being. All together we have consciousness, group consciousness, and we face a deeper penetration in which we will become responsive to the presence of planetary and ray energies now available. Our point of being, our radiant point in which we are somehow magically compressed together, though without conventional dimension of time and space. That point of being together hovers above the golden pathway which we use to symbolize the Antakarana. And that golden pathway leads to the heart of the indigo sun, eventually to the indigo heart of the Stola Logos. But we will just use the symbol, and there we will find the presence of Master DK, that expert in planetary and ray and hierarchical energies. And the golden pathway makes its way into the indigo sun, and so do we, as a point together, traveling that golden pathway. All together, however isolated we may feel in our personality, yet spiritually all together, and the golden pathway shortens, and it shortens, and we, at a point of tension, find ourselves within the indigo sun and in the presence of Master DK. May His love, His strength, His consciousness stimulate us, and may we be, as it were, together as a group, an outpost of that consciousness, so that our consciousness of subtle things is stimulated by His. And so that when we touch these subtle energies, we understand them more deeply than otherwise we would. We will, with Him, touch the rays of Venus, the exoteric ruler, as soul values are emerging in our lives, balanced wisely with rightful personal necessities, soul values pervading from Venus. We will, as it were, touch the rays of Uranus, the esoteric ruler, conveying to us the power to relate to each other and to all with archetypal authenticity, real self to real self. No masquerades, charades, impersonations, authentic relationship which will restructure the world. And we will touch the rays of Saturn together, the hierarchical ruler and also the exalted planet, so strong in Libra, suggesting the eventual consummation of karma in the spirit of justice and in beauty. Under Saturn, all will come right. These great gods, they are all pervading in the solar system, and they are here now. There's nowhere where their consciousness is not. They are participating in the solar systemic group consciousness, and on our planet at this time, we can more intensely be aware of them. Our salvation lies within the heavens. Our medicines come from the heavens, and the heavens are within us. So we first approach Venus, the alter ego of our Earth, the twin sister of our Earth, and yet that more advanced planetary logos who has done what our Earth only strives to do. The brightest planet in the night sky from our perspective. We will ponder on the power of Venus in relation to Libra, to fortify the loving influence of the solar angel in our lives, individually in our groups. The intimate solar angel, intimate to our deepest consciousness, magnetizing the personality towards the soul, leading to that union of heaven and earth we call the divine marriage. That fusion with the solar angel is coming. It is fully achieved at the 4th degree, just before the solar angel departs towards the sun. So we contemplate this intimate spiritual marriage, the marriage in the heavens, as the absorption of the personality into the radiant beauty of soul life, the radiant beauty of the soul. Libra, the sign of contemplation, we attempt to merge subject and object, and we contemplate the marriage which must take place in our inner psyche and throughout our energy system. true influence of Venus here with us, civilizing animal man, civilizing personal man, raising us into a true spiritual civility and civilization. Venus together in our relationships, how we do need it to relate soul to soul in the one soul. There is this group marriage too. The personality of the group with the soul of the group, and wider still, maybe demonstrated in greater fullness during the Venusian decanate of the Aquarian age, some 1500 years from now, where we will have a larger measure of the personality of humanity merging with the soul of humanity. It could change our relations entirely. And finally, right human relations would result. The great gift of Libra. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, the rule of the Prince of Peace, the Libran Prince of Peace. And in our groups we can imagine where we need this energy, this Venusian, Libran beauty of relationship. It enters our consciousness and we see it flowing into our groups. So many of us are members of various groups. They all need this Venusian stream. We see it flowing into our groups. And this ray of Venus will qualify the groups, as it so rarely fully does. But let us visualize this happening. We'll use an indigo note. It'll be the note A. Sound the Om. Visualize the flow of the Venusian energy into our groups, imparting its quality to which we all must attune. Even orchestras attune to the note A. Strongly fifth ray, esoterically indigo, Venusian note. So may the beauty, the peace, the loving intelligence of Venus characterize our group living and relating, And may it be so for increasing numbers of human beings, notwithstanding the present Martian coloration of their relationships. Venus must at last prevail. Then, supported and pervaded by the consciousness of Master DK, we can attune with that consciousness. We will consider next the esoteric ruler of Libra. It is Uranus, the home of electric fire, first ray monad, seventh ray soul. Such a hard line pouring through Uranus, and yet somehow related to Sirius and to the heart. And so we will, in these days of social transformation, ponder on the power of Uranus in relation to Libra to bring in a new social order based on archetypal authenticity in all relations. There are so many false ways to relate to each other, but with Uranus we don't do that. We are deeply who we are, and we show that. And thus the will of God appears because each one of us is responsible for a tiny fragment of the will of God. Let's call it at first our planetary logos. If we don't express that aspect of the will, doesn't make it through into manifestation. So everyone really is an indispensable representative, the tiny aspect of the will of God. Thus we must be authentic, bringing our archetype through, and that's what Uranus does. It's a creative planet. Group creativity emerges when the sex impulse is properly channeled to the throat center and beyond. When the third eye opens, the eye of Shiva, the eye of Uranus, and new ways and new relationships in the social order can occur. Libra is so much about right human relations in society, with Uranus based on authenticity, representing a particular code or message of the will of God, our planetary logos. So there will be, as we've seen it emerging among those who are awakening, fresh modes of human cooperation and interplay, which contribute to the vitalization, the betterment, the balance of all energy systems, great and small, within our planet. The spiritual, physical ecology, the ecological balance towards which we must strive, every unit playing its unique part in this division of labor. We certainly need this in our groups, where each can be known for the uniqueness that he or she contributes. Group creativity can emerge. The electrifying presence of all group members together when they are being authentic and produce something truly creative in line with the plan, because they are daring to express that authenticity. Let us imagine this violet stream flowing into our groups to create the new vitalization, the new authenticity, the new forms of creativity which can emerge as we creatively work towards the peace which Libra represents. As long as people in their own inner archetypal nature are suppressed, there will be no peace. So we will use a violet note. We will use the note B, imagining the violet stream flowing into our group and the groups, creating something more real, something more authentic, something representing the cosmic ethers, where life can truly be found in greater measure than in these lower three worlds. So we watch the transformation. New life, growing aliveness in the social sphere. Right human relations based on respect for who people really are. And Uranus will reveal this. Finally, we will move to the exalted hierarchical ruler. Its divine law, its Saturn, expressed through the spiritual will emanating from the atmic plane. Both Libra and Saturn, in combination, are fascinating. They rule this plane of spiritual will, Atma, nirvanic mind, the law which makes nirvana a possible achievement. Saturn, active in so many areas of the cosmic physical plane, but we're thinking of it in a very high way here. we visualize the dynamic equilibrium in manifestation intended by the divine plan. It's not a static thing. It's a dance. It's beautiful expression in balance and within due bounds, without infringing upon the ring pass not of expression of the others. It's empowered from Atma, from the highest level, the spiritual triad. The great will in Shambhala now is towards right human relations in that troublesome family, humanity. So, we ponder on the lawful balancing of karmic imbalances and the relation of this balancing to the just and harmonious expression of the divine plan, executed by the will in service of the great purpose. All relations must come under divine law. That is the will of our planetary logos, that this should happen. So, a new law must be realized, the law of right human relations. A new law, not the laws of the land, which of course must be respected, but a deeper law, not ancient archaic laws that we have long outgrown in medieval times, but a new and higher law which takes into consideration the good of all, the good of the whole, a higher law, which if followed leads to balance, harmony, beauty, all the things, the qualities for which Libra is known. May that law settle into our lives, impress itself upon our thinking and our feeling and our doing, so that we may be truly lawful in the spiritual sense, and thus really tread the royal road into the realm of perfect peace, at least as far as our planet is concerned, into the realm of Shambhala, from which this law emanates. And how much happier humanity will be when it ceases breaking the divine law. And maybe we should know that no one breaks the law. The law breaks them. So if this higher spiritual will entered our groups, if we were driven by this higher spiritual will and conformed to it, so many things would improve. Let us see that happening in our group and groups. We will sound on a third ray note, the note F, the note Fa, the green note, correlating with the third ray monad of Saturn, the intelligent application of the law. Not my will, but thine be done, and may that spiritual will of Saturn and Atma increasingly be our will and take the place, certainly, of the personal will, and even one day of the will of the soul, a true spiritual will, which will ever uphold the intended balance. May it prevail. These planets are powerful now, over the next 10 hours or so, even more powerful. So let us not treat them as if they were remote objects, but living gods in our presence and throughout the presence of the solar system. And all of this taking place, of course, within the sphere of the great God of love, the blue logos, the heart center in a cosmic logos, our solar logos, somehow deeply connected with Libra through its second aspect, bringing love and right human relations eventually throughout the solar system, and the beautiful expression of the intended archetype, the solar God in our heart, the sun in the heart, and in the heart and the head, and in the midst of our egoic lotus, and pouring through the 12-fold monad, the solar logos, the blue logos, in whom ultimately we live and move and have our being. Can we think solar systemically? It's a stretch, but we are citizens of this solar system, and the monad which we are is that which has its home within the sun. And on from there to the constellation Libra itself, once associated with Scorpio as the claws of the scorpion, but now distinct, and its unique light, which relates so much to our soul personality integration as we visualize the constellation Libra. A triangle it is, how interesting. It's called the light that moves to rest. This is the light that oscillates until a point of balance is achieved. It is the light which is distinguished by a moving up and down. It's a vertical oscillation, finding that midway point between soul and personality, and eventually between the monad and the soul-infused personality. And so at this point, and increasingly over the next hours, we open ourselves to the feel of the energy quality of Libra. And all the rays to which it is connected, the third, the second, and its planets with the fifth and the seventh and the third rays, and many other rays. Open ourselves to the feel of Libra. Perfect balance, perfect justice, perfect beauty, perfect archetype. The tranquility of this shambolic peace. That's ultimately what it is. It's not yet expressing fully on Earth, of course not. But that's the shambolic peace of Libra. The only center of true peace on the planet. And we will, in the silence, we will ponder the mantra and see its application to the way we will choose to travel, whether it's our first steps on the path which Libra reveals, or the royal road to Shambhala itself. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. It's a vertical oscillation and the middle way between extremes on the vertical axis. There's always a middle way. No matter how high the upper pole or the position of the lower, always a way between. One day even the monad will be the way between. Right now, it's the uppermost pole. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. the noble middle path of the Buddha, the royal road to Shambhala, the blending way, the meeting place of the extremes. The poise of this way is so related to harmlessness. What way will we tread? What is the nature of our path? One day Libra may take us onto the path of Earth service. It may take us to the cosmic astral plane on the path of magnetic work. These great influences are cosmic. They have an immediate application for us here and now, as we try to balance our karma and live the beautiful life according to the new and emerging art of living, as the Tibetan discusses it. A great harmony exists in the archetypal worlds. And as we tread this middle way, we will increasingly partake of this harmony. And the beauty of the creation will impress itself upon us ever more strongly. And we will begin to know the beauty of the archetypes in the mind of God. First our planetary logos, and then our solar logos. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. So hold that in your consciousness over these next 9 or 10 hours. There is an alignment which we honor. It comes from the Pleiades. It's the hub of it's the central place, just the way Libra is the central sign. There's something about that third ray of Libra and the third ray of Pleiades so related. But from the Pleiades and through various of the cosmic centers, and into this constellation Libra, great deities related in a triangle, and into our solar god, the solar logos, in which our monad inheres, and thus through every monad on the earth, once having reached through Venus, Uranus and Saturn to our earth, we as monads in Shambhala receive this. We as souls in hierarchy receive this. And down through the vehicles of our personality, through the chakras, anchoring at the root, interestingly related to Libra, just as Aries is to the crown, from the highest to the lowest, the royal road of Libra extends. The open channel from energies we can barely perceive and not really touch, but touch only in a transmitted, transformed, attenuated manner. From those highest places, the great justice, the great balance, the great law, the great love, and creative intelligence of triple Libra reach us. And we are then in a position to look out into the world under the influence of this alignment. Because the world needs now what Libra has. Peace, the true peace, the peace of archetypal dynamic equilibrium in which every nation and every individual manages to express its unique essence in harmony with every other. Yes, it's a long way forward, but the idea can be held and the ideal pursued. Over our war-stricken world, where forces are fighting, threatening the balance, over our ecologically imperiled world, the balance can prevail. So let us choose, holding the alignment, some place, some scene of conflict, of imbalance, where we can direct these forces and see balance restored. Each of us can choose whatever we like. It's all one effort. And we'll use a second ray note to sound the Om 3 times, directing the powers of the balance and of peace into the areas of strife. Oh. the power of our thought, especially our group thought, can change bad situations into better and ever better relationships. And so we will hold this alignment as together we will sound the great invocation. So many of you, of course, know it by heart, but I will pull it up here. We will sound this together, followed by the 3 ohms, the sacred word, and holding the alignment, we will visualize the great power of Libra sweeping through light, love, and power, bringing increasing peace of the right kind to the world, so that that moment of balance can be created, which will make possible the emergence into visibility of the Prince of Peace, the Christ, the Lord Maitreya himself. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So friends, the time of the full moon in terms of universal time, GMT, is at 10:50. Tomorrow morning, 10:50 and 34 seconds, about 10 minutes to 11 GMT. And we will also start our full moon service meditation broadcast at 9:15 GMT, and you should have the link. So I appreciate very much your being here, working together in this pre-full moon webinar. Hold the point of tension, and if you're asleep, hold the point of tension and build towards the moment of the full moon, which is that turning point of the year, deeply into the lower interlude, of course, but also into the possibility of manifestation and bringing the higher powers deeply into the threefold personality. Thank you for being here, and this meditation will be available on the Makara website hopefully relatively shortly if you want to use it during the days of distribution. And we'll see you in meditation. See you then. Have a wonderful full moon, however you spend it. It's a great solar opportunity. Let's all be together in achieving the beauty of balance conferred by the great powers of Shambhala. Bye-bye.